so ground zero in the East Village for delivery e-bike parking, right? This has turned into this huge controversy. Why are there so many delivery e-bikes that are parked here on the street? It's in all the press, and apparently the neighbors are up in arms. They're upset that as many as maybe 3 car parking spaces are taken up regularly by people who are parking e-bikes. Most of this section is actually closed off for daylighting purposes, right? So you have a giant sort of boulder here. It's obscured by the bikes. You have some more boulders going up to the corner. And that was an intentional thing done by the city to make sure that drivers who were coming up to this intersection could see others approaching on foot or on bike and not have a traffic conflict or even a collision with them. So there's really only one actual official parking space here out of the what looks like maybe 3 that are taken up with the e-bikes. And you know, one of the reasons that the e-bikes are parked here every night is that they're shared, right? This is actually an informal bike share system. It's sort of like car share, where you know you have some spaces that are set aside on the street for zip cars. That was a program the city had. I don't know if it's still around, but actually you have people who have made agreements that they're going to share a delivery bike, and so one delivery bike can be working all the time or for multiple shifts with multiple operators who need to, you know, sleep and eat and have other aspects of their life. And this is where they do it. And the question is, why is this such a terrible problem? You know, the question shouldn't be, why can't they put their bike somewhere else? The question is, why is it such a terrible problem when we give this parking away for free to drivers, right? You look up the street, the vast majority of the street space here, typical New York City east-west street, it's about 36 feet wide, and half of it, the curbside lane on both sides, are devoted to private car storage. And why is it such a problem that these delivery bikes, which I'm telling you, people aren't bringing them here just because they love to ride around on their bike, right? This isn't recreational activity. These are working bikes. These guys have bags that they're delivering your food in, right? Not mine, because I really don't order in. But so many people in the city do. There's this insatiable demand to have food delivered in to New York City. And these are the guys who are meeting that demand. You are paying them and therefore incenting them to have an efficient operation with a place to park their bikes near the desirable restaurants that everyone wants to have food delivered from, to the homes here in the East Village, 11th Street and 1st Avenue, where everyone wants to have their food delivered. So why is it so terrible that people would get to leave their bikes here when they're not using them? There's also, I think, a house of worship near here. There's an ethnic deli. You know, people are going to church to pray. People are going to eat the food that they're comfortable with, that it's their traditional food. So of course, this is where they park. It's really no different than what people do in their four-wheeled cars. You know, why is it a problem except that the people on the bikes don't look like the people in the neighborhood? You know, that's why people are up in arms. They're saying, these people aren't like us. They're not from our neighborhood. Why are they here sort of colonizing or occupying this tiny corner of space on this block? And the answer is, you are bringing them in by ordering all the things you're ordering. Your food, your groceries, your weed, everything else, okay? So don't blame the delivery cyclists. They're responding to the economic incentive that we are giving them. Should there be regulation? Yes, absolutely. You know, you could set this up and you could figure out a way to charge them like a quarter or 50 cents each, if that's what you wanted to do with the public space on this block. You'd also have to charge the drivers too. It wouldn't be fair. You could have a residential permit parking system where only people who live on this block would get to park their vehicles, whether they have 2 or 4 wheels here. That's another reasonable proposal you could make and you could have debate on, right? No one's proposing any of that. What's being proposed is get the delivery guys with their e-bikes off the block. They don't belong here. No, they belong right here because this is where the people are ordering all their food in. Okay, if you want to change the system, come up with an alternative proposal that makes sense, have a public debate about it, and get the situation changed through the channels we have for decision making, for allocation of uses of public space. Okay? Don't go running and screaming to the post, it's Armageddon. There's Muslim e-bike delivery operators who come here and they're worshiping at their church and they're eating at their deli and they're parking their bikes. They're part of this community. They're supporting the lifestyle in this community. Figure out a way to integrate them that makes sense and that's fair and not discriminatory.